It is no surprise that among those most affected by the recent pandemic are students of all ages and at all levels of education. COVID has shed light on the need for innovation and technological solutions for educational systems, which are resilient in all circumstances. The discourse in this next session, moderated by Dr. Mohab Anis, the CEO of INNOVETY, revolves around the future of the sector and its impact on its participants, specifically on changing the ways we teach EdTech for Gen Z. Please welcome Mr. Mohab Anis, CEO of INNOVETY.
All right, so good morning, everyone. So my name is Mohab Anis. Actually, wear two hats. One is that I'm a professor at the American University in Cairo in the School of Sciences and Engineering with a cross appointment with School of Business. And my second hat is that I'm the CEO at INNOVETY. INNOVETY is an innovation management consultancy that helps organizations effectively innovate in different fields. Today, actually, I'm very happy to be with you because we're going to be talking about a topic that's very, very close to my heart, which is education and how it can be transformed over the next years in a way that can leverage many of the different technologies that are emerging in our life. So, actually, I would like to invite our panelists to the podium, Mr. Walid, Anton, and Rabih. Please. And we'd like to actually, I'd like to invite you. This is, yeah, Rabih. Anton, I think he's coming in. Hi. And we can have a seat.
We're going to be three, actually.
So we're waiting for Anton and Rabih. Saw Anton this morning. There he is. Is Rabih here? No. We'll just sit here. It's good. It's good. Say, hi, Anton. Good. Do you know? Yeah. Hello, Rabih. All right. So I'm actually a father of twins, two boys. They're 14 years old. And when I look at the kind of the ways that they actually get taught at schools, the kind of applications that they are using, the kind of content that they are actually used to digest. And I reflect that 30 years back when I was in their shoes, I see something which is very, very different. Very different in the way that they get evaluated, very different in the type of content that they are absorbing. And I think to myself, if you look 20 or 30 years down the road, how is this actually going to even change even further? So and this is really the topic of this panel. We would like to have an understanding of how education will be transformed in the next years. We have a wonderful set of experts with us who are going to dive in and give us a little bit of what they believe is the way forward. So let me just stop. So I'm very happy to welcome Mr. Walid Tahabsem, who is the President and CEO at Integrated Technology Group. Mr. Walid comes with a background in e-learning and LMS, startups and entrepreneurship, along with agri-tech, medical tourism, and refugee education. Wow, that's a pretty vast scope. I also want to welcome Dr. Anton Ravindran. Anton is the founder of Smartlaw Limited, advisor and practice lead, Digital Insight Ventures, and author of Will AI Dictate the Future? So something we would like to understand a bit of today. So welcome, Anton. I'd also would like to welcome Mr. Rabih. Rabih, okay. Rabih Baalbaki, who is the president at EdTech, Syndicate. Mr. Rabih is a professor, expert, and international trainer in digital transformation. He's also the president of the Lebanese Association for IT Professionals. Okay, so let me actually ask kind of like a general thought about this. Since we're seeing this kind of changes in the way education is being transformed, I wanted to ask this question maybe to all the panelists. What are the kind of like the present challenges that we're seeing right now that would actually dictate the necessity of looking into some other technologies that have actually transformed a lot of businesses around us, things like artificial intelligence, artificial augmented reality, virtual reality, metaverse. We saw yesterday the opening of this MENA summit to actually, the Prime Minister was inaugurating the opening in metaverse. So I want just to ask you, how do you see the future on a high level? How do you see the future of how the educational environment would look like? And maybe I would like to start with Walid.
Thank you. مساء الخير جميعا. Good afternoon. Actually, before diving into this, I would like to start with when we talk about education, we need to define the stage of education that we want to address, because not all education levels and segments are the same. And a solution that can fit one category of education does not necessarily fit another one. So if I want to think about higher education, not necessarily what fits in the higher education can work in the K-12 domain. So, and even if I want to dive into the K-12 itself, if I want to talk about what I can do in one single private education, one single private school, does not necessarily works for a public sector that is trying to teach millions of users. So this is something that needs to be taken into account every time we think about innovation, EdTech, and everything that is related to the education space. Now, I don't think it's about technology. It is about how we want to utilize this technology effectively into the education system. Moving forward, the education is being transformed from something that has been rigid for the past 150 years into something that is completely independent from what we have achieved in the last 150 years. It is going to be in 5 years, no one will care about which university you have graduated from, which school you went to, rather than what skills you have. And unless we think about technology into that context, into education, I don't think we will be able to answer a simple question about AI, virtual reality, and any other technology into the education system.
Okay. Anton, what are your perspectives related to, you are an expert in AI, so tell us a little bit about when you're talking about, again, if we split the educational into the schooling system versus the high school versus the university level, do you see any kind of changes in the way that students are learning, the kind of environments, immersive environments that students are able to adopt and to be able to absorb knowledge through? Please.
Thank you. First of all, thanks for the opportunity to be here today with this distinguished panel. Let me also share that I'm not necessarily an educator, but I come from the technology side of things. So I'll address the question from that perspective. Well, we know that during COVID and because of COVID, everything has transformed, and education is not an exception. In fact, the pandemic has accelerated the transformation in every industry, including education industry. We live in a world today that is predominantly reliant on internet, from entertainment to information, and again, education is no different. Now, how is it different is this, actually, in my perspective. Firstly, technology has become the real focus of delivering anything to society and economy. And that too is driven by leading edge technologies such as AI, artificial intelligence. First thing first, because of the pandemic and what we have witnessed, it's obvious that certain learning experiences are now only can be achieved online and not in the classrooms. And that has become the de facto standard because of what has unfolded over the last couple of years. For instance, simulation, gaming, gamification, videos, this can be only delivered in an optimal manner through online and not in classroom. But similarly, equally, certain other aspects has to be delivered in classrooms. Discussions, presentations, role-playing, etc., etc. So we are seeing a convergence of both these coming together. That's one. Secondly, we live in a world today where lifelong learning is the order of the day. That also means that we need courses that can be launched and delivered instantaneously without any delays, and that can be only achieved through online. And that is happening through micro-credentials, flip-side classroom concepts, bite-sized courses, etc., etc. So that's a transformation broadly from a technology perspective. Now, where does the AI play in a role? And I must also emphasize that learning experiences are now personal experiences and not a lecturer or teacher standing in front of 50 to 100 students and lecturing, because each student, even in this audience, we all learn differently. Pace of learning is different, level of learning is different, time taken to consume and understand and comprehend a concept thoroughly differs from individual to individual. So technology is able to deliver today personalized training, bite-sized training, and these can be achieved is being achieved actually through artificial intelligence. They are adaptive, they are automatic, they are intelligent, and they track each individual student's learning pace. Not only that, conversely speaking, even teaching styles are different for the same topic by different lecturers. Now, the systems can be developed and are being developed to deliver these so that it's personalized for individual learning. In short, I think the cliche word is democratizing education. It's no longer anytime, any place, anywhere, but for anyone from anywhere, from any institution, for any subject that they want to learn. Again, that's a high level
very good.
pitch.
Thank you so much, Anton. Again, I want to go to Rabih. You're the president of the EdTech Syndicate. Again, I would just, before we go into the details, just give us your high-level view of what kind of changes are you seeing right now, again, in the educational system, whether it is at the school level or at the university level, and maybe just educate us about the syndicate. Does it focus on the school level or on university level education?
Excellent. Thank you. I would like to thank PCA, Professional Computer Association Lebanon, and Intaj, Nidal and Camille for this opportunity to put the right tracks of EdTech as an important sector after the crisis driving the technology, the way that my colleagues just said before me. Actually, what I can say, there's something now called the HiFlex. HiFlex, it's hybrid flexibility. It's a mix between blended, hybrid, and flipped classroom together. Because there's like the definition of the hybrid and the blended, till now it's not clear for most of the school systems, for the educators, even during the COVID crisis. Because when you talk about the content, you talk about the environment, the maker space, the way you teach, the methodologies of teaching, everything will change, depends on the real aspects of the fourth industrial revolution. So if you want to show you the strategy, we will have to reverse engineering the fourth industrial revolution, take a look about the artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, Internet of Innovation, Internet of Production, and then immersive technology in learning. And if you get involved with the mobile application, with the cloud technology, and you integrate one of these together, two of these together or more, you will create more opportunities and you will create more projects. So when you talk about the projects, here new skills, it is not about 4 C's anymore, it's now about 6 C's. Collaboration, communication, critical thinking, creativity, character, which is the personalized learning, if it is for the schools or for the universities or for the upskilling and reskilling of the people in the new normal. Because also you have to teach the government, the public, not only the students at the schools. So this is an, let's say it's like an, there's a stakeholders, there's an ecosystem from the public, private, community partnership in order to do this come true. So what we did, actually, we reversed the fourth industrial revolution based on humanizing the digital, not digitalizing the human. And in this case, if you go to the competencies, you have to go through the separation between knowledge, skills, and the values. For the values, the best practice was the SDGs, because nobody can refuse that or neglect the importance of the Sustainable Development Goals. Number 9, the innovation. Number 4, the quality in education. And number 16, the governance, which here very important to legalize and rechange the way of the legalization about the education, because there's many countries, they do not till now accredited the e-learning. So you will have a problem in order to establish a real platform or a stable platform if you are not legalized. The second one is the content, because most of the people, they just recorded the synchronous e-learning teaching, and this is wrong. You have to reassemble the lesson objectives and do it for 5 maximum and use it as a flipped classroom. You can't use the way that you do it in the physical life, the same in the e-learning platform. So at each environment or at each level, the class, the people, and the environment of the maker space. Here the most important things, to apply all these fourth industrial revolutions, to apply all these skills that I talked about. Digital citizenship is one of the 6 C's right now. You have to look to the SDGs, to the humanity, to the social responsibility, then get skilling the people, the schools, and the mindset of the education. It's not about something just you can do it in the real life, the same you can do it in the new normal or in the virtual life, even of metaverse. And then you have to redefine the knowledge itself, because you are entering the fourth industrial revolution.
Okay. Thank you very much, Rabih, for this comprehensive response. Anton, I want to ask you a question again related to, again, how you see learning management systems. And this is also a question that I wanted to ask Walid. Is that learning management systems as they are right now, I personally use Blackboard at the university, and for those who don't know, Blackboard is a tool that allows professors to share content, students to access content, absorb content, able to put grades and so forth. And it's pretty boring, to be honest with you. It's really boring. And going back to what Walid was saying, that since skills are really the most important thing here, I wanted to ask Anton and then perhaps Walid after that, do you see these kind of learning management systems, do you see any kind of transformation in the way they look? Are we able to integrate any particular technologies to them? Can something like AI, for example, but again, for what purpose? And for what skills do we want to actually achieve out of these LMSs?
That's a good question. Let me take an attempt to address that to the best I can. Putting LMS to me is a platform to deliver training by trainer to the students. But what is important is the participants' learning experiences, both learning experiences and social interactions with students and teachers, those who are online, because end of the day, Blackboard is an online system. So there are several AI-based tools, and given my interest in that area, that addresses both the student as well as all the participants, as well as the teachers and the lecturers. And frankly, it goes beyond that, because education is an interaction not only between the lecturer and the students, but also the larger ecosystem to fully leverage, and I'll come to that in a minute. Okay. But let me address the first two first, that is teachers and students. There are several tools available today, particularly addressing what I said earlier on. In teaching and education, though I'm not an educator, but I have been educated, so I understand what does it means to be in a class, pace of learning, level of learning that varies from individual to individual, lecturers to lecturers, etc. Quickly, there are tools such as artificial intelligence tutors that is able to, and I'll give you a couple of examples, some of you may know that, is these tools, AI tutors, are able to individually personalize for each individual students and learn through their own experiences and preferences in understanding the pace of learning and also the level of learning, and then tailor-make, personalize the training curriculum to those individual students. Okay. On the LMS systems such as Blackboard and Saba, etc., etc. Okay. These are the platforms, vehicles that drive that. One of them, for example, is a tool, NAO, now, some of you may know that. It's a human robot that sits on the system, understands every single student's learning experience and pace, from everything from literacy to STEM courses, science, technology, engineering, and management courses. Also offers fun-loving labs that they can be incorporated into. That's one. NAO is one of them. Then another one called ThinkStar Maths. I think some of you know that, probably you know that. It has the ability to do two things. It blends the curriculum with the teacher's teaching style, and then it uses AI and ML algorithms to visualize how individual student solves a mathematical problem, understands how they analyze a mathematical problem, how they logically solve the problem, and understand the gaps between it, and then provides the teacher for individual student how they perform and what gaps they need to work on. These are a couple of examples, and there are numerous examples, from plagiarism to grading. Absolutely. When grading, how do you evaluate the courses? There are plenty of tools out, coming to the market. Perfect.
Walid, again, I want to go back to you because you are someone who knows a lot about LMSs, learning management systems, and again, as I mentioned to you, the ones that we have right now are pretty boring. They're not very insightful, I would say, both for the students and for the professors. Do you see any kind of change? Do you see technologies advancing how LMSs work and to enhance the skills?
I thank you very much for the question. First of all, there is a word in Arabic that we use, abashrak. It will stay boring for a long period of time for one simple reason. Reason number one, that until today, unfortunately, we are still mix technology with content. And that's the major problem in the e-learning. I am a technologist, but I think for the credit of being, in the educational field for the past 25 years, I think I can claim that I have a simple understanding of what the education system at large needs, K-12 and higher ed. I'll use two examples of what has been said. Sorry, my back to you. But the moderator is there, so. So the first example is the issue of artificial intelligence online versus blended, and the specific skills of individual students. I don't think we needed to wait 25 years, to start seeing those. This has been implemented in Jordan in 2003 on a platform called EduWave, where each individual student had a profile, okay, where the smart teacher feature, it used to be called the smart teacher feature in EduWave, used to analyze, the performance of a student and come up with custom-made, if the term is correct, custom-made content for that individual student with that teacher. If you change the teacher, okay, the system will automatically change the content based on what is there. Now, is this an LMS? Absolutely not. Is this an SIS? Absolutely not. How can you achieve something like this? You need some AI engine, all right? You need a seamlessly integrated environment where you have the learning management with the student information. I'll give you a very simple example. How can you do automatic scheduling? Forget about teaching and learning. How can you do automatic scheduling if you don't know your assets? So unless you have an integrated environment where you seamlessly integrate the learning management with the student information and the communication and collaboration, it will be impossible to be able to have non-boring environment, okay? And that's exactly what we have been trying to achieve in the past 25 years. But it is very important to recognize one thing. Pandemic, yes, it accelerated the attention towards technology in multiple fields. And let me take the field that I am, have been working on or in for the past 25 years, education. What did we do during the pandemic? We used the camera and the microphone to emulate the classroom, which is even more boring. And we gave the tool, the teachers, the students, the parents, more tools to cheat within this environment. This is absolutely not it. When people come to me and they say, the pandemic has been, a fantastic era for ITG, for example, I tell them, absolutely not. We did not sell anything during the pandemic because we are not an audio-video conferencing environment. This is not education. This is not EdTech. This is one tool. By the way, EduWave had audio-video conferencing capabilities since '99. I used, for those who attended the Jordan e-learning forum in '94, saw how we were able to connect, okay? A classroom in Boston with a classroom in New York and a classroom in Jordan and a classroom in India, with a teacher in somewhere else in the world. On a four-meg connectivity. That was considered really broadband. So it is continue to be boring, but it is accelerated in the sense that all these things can be integrated very quickly if you have the right environment. For example, virtual reality, augmented reality, okay? Although those are becoming, buzzwords. What I saw yesterday I cannot even talk about, okay? If this is it, I don't want it, okay? But the idea is something that can be integrated quickly and swiftly, provided that we have this distinction between content and solution and platform. So what is it? Is it on the content side? If you know how to do it in the content side, within a standard environment, you will be able to plug it in very quickly. Otherwise, you will have to change the whole thing, and this is like reinventing the wheel again.
And let me follow on that actually. When you have, even if you assume that you have the content, the technologies, and the tools, one of the things that I personally experienced and other teachers and professors experienced is that we found that teachers and professors are a little bit resistant to actually using these kind of technologies and to learn these kind of technologies, and they just don't have either the will or the...
For one simple reason. Because you have, if you are at the classroom level, you have 45 minutes as a teacher to basically conduct what you need to conduct within those 45 minutes. And notice from our discussion, by the way, how we start with a discussion about classroom and then we drift into a lecture. Those are two different species, two different environments, what might work at a lecture level will not work at a class level. Even in our discussion today, we drifted 3 times, I counted them already. So when we want to talk about a classroom, 45 minutes as a teacher needs to deliver what they need to deliver. If a teacher cannot deliver and the tool and the technology becomes an obstacle rather than a tool to aid, deliver more within those 45 minutes, I don't need it, I don't want it, okay? And this is exactly what we mean by the effective integration of technology into the education system. Right. At the higher ed, it's totally different ball game. You need to engage people, you need to have them interact. Those are no more a structured environment. This is a non-structured environment, meant to be non-structured, where you need to engage the players in a totally different, atmosphere. What works here doesn't work here, and vice versa.
Okay. Rabih, and actually I want to pick your brains on this part. Again, you are advocating for so many of these, again, changing environments and technologies. And again, I want to go back to the point of, how can you make this more applicable? How can you decrease the resistance that you would be getting from the teachers, the management of educational systems, whether they are schools or universities, to use these technologies? Have you seen this? Have you experienced this yourself?
Actually, there is a big difference between innovation in education and education on innovation. And we need both of them. And for this, we established the syndicate, an EdTech syndicate. It have two wings, the education and the technology. And the rider is the educators. So you have to teach the educators as a good pilot, otherwise you will lose the control. What been talking about it, learning management system, content management system, school video content system, there's many learning management systems with different facilities. Even some of them started as video conference system platform and they changed into learning management system because of the COVID. So it is not the point here. This is tools. So how it will be more friendly for the educators, you will have less resistive. But when we talk about the internet rights, the accessibility rights, because this is what a very important point that we faced during COVID. I'm talking about the equity of access, because many of the raw areas, especially in our in MENA region, they did not reach either the classes virtual or physical during COVID. So this is a big problem, and this make a massive gap between the for the equity of the students. So this is, you need here legalization, you need here equity, you need to have innovation in education and digital transformation. But I'm talking now about something more advanced, and we need to do it and put it on the table and have to reform the curriculum based on this. It's innovation, it's education innovation. The right for everyone to be educated in how to innovate. We are living now the fourth industrial revolution. Anything related to the occupations in the future, after the higher education, because now as much you become closer to the marketplace, as much it will be critical. As much you are still in the primary and in the intermediate classes, it's more feasible to have this smooth digital transformation for innovation in education and education on innovation. So what's happening in this case, as just we said, you have to not only metaverse, and actually you are replacing physical people, the humanity, the real contact with the people with a hologram. Doesn't work like that. But sometimes, because there's a crisis, you need to use the technology because it's better of nothing. Yeah. But actually, the most important thing right now is to work on inquiry-based learning. Inquiry-based learning, you have a maker space. Inside the maker space, it has 3D printers. You have CAD designer software. You have creativity software. You know how to use the technology. You know how to use the artificial intelligence and the coding and the robotics to solve the problems, not to play with robotics. It's about design thinking. So as much you can apply the design thinking skills, which is actually design thinking skills, it's not only one skill, it's a mix of skills between creativity, collaboration, critical thinking, and character itself, because every individual we have multiple intelligence. When you talk about learning style, you can give visual, audio, simulators, and you can apply the learning styles. But when it comes to solutions, you need to educate on innovation.
Very good. Thank you so much for that. I wanted to ask a question to also the panel, and I'm looking at the time because I want to give also the opportunity for the audience to ask any questions. When it comes to education, are you seeing also any kind of changes in the way that employees or people in companies, in corporates, are being trained using some of these, again, these advanced technologies, the ones that we just mentioned now, AI? Like personally, I saw a very nice documentary by CNN where they were teaching, people to get trained on certain environments using virtual reality. Another one using augmented reality so that you can do manufacturing in a better way. So maybe, Walid, I can pick your brains on that. Again, since we're talking about education, I'm here moving out of the school and university, and I want to talk a little bit about companies and how they train and educate their employees.
The way we look at it from ITG perspective, it is K-12, higher ed, and corporate. What you are talking about is the corporate world. But in the context of what I just said before and what Anton said also, education in general is changing, meaning there will be no 4-year undergrad program anymore moving forward. I don't think this will even exist. I said that 10 years ago. I still believe in it. I said it will take 10 years. Maybe it's taking 12 years instead of 10. And the reason being because the technology, the learning, the objectives that we are trying to achieve out of what we are teaching our higher ed students is by the time they graduate, it has been mentioned by Omar yesterday, okay? By the time they graduate, it's already gone. We need different set of skills. And this is why I said it is a skill-based. The solution to that is I give the basics and then I move into the work environment and I keep on learning while I am advancing in my environment, working environment. So the same platform can take you from K-12, higher ed, and even the corporate world.
Lovely. All right, so actually I want to give the opportunity to the audience if you have any questions related to, again, the advancement of education, usage of different emerging technologies. Anton, you had a comment on this until we get any?
Thank you. Just quickly, in the interest of time. Personally speaking, from my experiences, I see education different from training, somewhat. It's all about knowledge. One is about knowledge and the other is about skill sets. And today's fast-moving world, and particularly in the tech world, the shelf life is about 12 months. If you look at any technology, it's 12 to 18 months. So we cannot, I think, and many feel, that the traditional educational models of brick and mortar, physical, has to change, particularly in the corporate world. The question was more about corporate, and its corporate world is about training and not necessarily about education. So we need, the corporate world requires skill sets that is instantaneously transferable so that they can go on to do the next project, deliver that, and move on to the next project and start with it with a new technology. So that requires a new way of thinking, new way of delivering it, and it's already happening. That's why we have the world, the world flooded with Udemy and Coursera and the rest of it. That's a different ballgame altogether. So I see education vis-a-vis training slightly different. Academic research, knowledge transfer vis-a-vis skills transfer, briefly in the interest of time.
Thank you, Anton. Okay, so we have a question at the back. If you'd like to either raise your voice before.
Good day. This is Mohab. You have mentioned many scenarios. Are there any actual cases, countries, societies that are using them? And maybe, Anthony, you can have a light on that, because I believe Singapore is always a leader, and for all the general countries.
Very good. So we're talking about case studies, like successful case studies of schools or universities that have actually adopted some of these technologies. So who would like to take a shot at this?
He just answered already.
All right. Do you want to take a shot at it, Anton?
Yes, I will. I mean, since you mentioned my
name.
Thanks for that question. Yes, Singapore is a city-state. As you all know, we have no resources like Jordan. Our mainly resource and asset is human resource. And incidentally, I happen to chair the Institute of Technical Education, that's a government organization, for the cloud computing diploma program. It's a 3-year work study program. Half of the program is delivered online, and the other half is delivered on site, meaning that the students will go to corporations and work with them and study while they are there. So that's a classic example as far as I think. Secondly, from a corporate world, many of them have moved. Of course, we have seen the world of CBT 20 years ago. That's computer-based training.
Great.
We moved to WBT, and now we are online. That world, all what has happened is the transformation from because of technology, bandwidth, etc. It has become far more user-friendly, learner-friendly, learner-sensitive, and that's what has happened. And so that has also permeated the corporate training world with digital solutions in Singapore's context, and also in Malaysia and our neighboring countries.
Thank you, Anton. I think we have another question here. Please go ahead.
Rabih, board member at Syndicate in Lebanon. I would like from the president, please, to talk about what we are doing in Lebanon with our syndicate, about the job description that we wrote together as a board member, and also about the initiative that our syndicate launched actually 1 month ago in order to decrease this resistance for the educators towards the digital transformation in education.
I guess this couples also with the other one about success case studies in Lebanon. Okay, is there another question at the back, please?
Thank you very much for the interesting panel discussion. I'm Abdul Nasser Hussein from Sultan Qaboos University in Oman, and I have a comment that in Oman we built an AI in education system in which that the student can use web application or mobile application to interact and get information about the university, about the courses. It helps him in his registration, in advising, and also it helps the student to get information about the course. If he searches for a certain question, also help the instructor to adapt his teaching, adapt his assignment according to the student's strength or weakness. Okay. So something one build it by, we can build
data mining.
Ourselves, and it is really it is very expensive if you try to buy
Sure.
from.
So do you have a question to the panelists, or is just a comment, more of a comment? Thank you thank you so much. One last question at the back, and then we'll wrap this panel up.
Hi, this is Amir Baradar, New York-based startup. We actually have a no-code solution to create content in XR, and we have a proof of concept with Columbia University. So we did a whole class of physics in AR for them during COVID, where they would teach, as you mentioned earlier, they would teach in the morning, that's totally separate. In the afternoon, they would take our app and they would learn laws of physics through the app. So if any of you are interested, please come and see me.
Okay, I think this also confirms the idea.
What's your name again?
Yeah.
Amir. Hamza is behind you. Please speak to him.
Again, this confirms again that while we're talking about again education and EdTech, this is an opportunity for startups and a lot of the small businesses to actually address the market. Rabih, would you like to just finally just tell us a specific case study that you've seen in Lebanon that you found either challenging or successful?
Actually, we did not mention STEAM and the STEM, which has been there 30 years and more from the United States. What we did, we have something called STEAM++. It's beyond the STEAM. So you have to leave a chance for the student to innovate. Innovation, because the future will not take with them to be facing the challenges without innovation. This is very important. For this, what we did, as my colleague Noura mentioned, we did a program, one for all and all for one. So anyone that they have skills in special programs or tools or a way or methodology or a program from schools they did and applied and they win international, whatever, so they can exchange this knowledge with their colleagues even with workshops or with case studies or success stories, whatever. This is one important thing. The second thing, what we just, for legalization, the EdTech, we make like a job description for 3 levels. The EdTech expert as a technical, EdTech manager for the school, and the content creator at the EdTech level, which they can work with the digital publishers or within the school itself. Why? Because if you want to apply STEAM or working like the International Baccalaureate program curriculum, which is the best case you can here put it on the stage, this means that we are working in inquiry-based, project-based programs, and you need on this the EdTech for sure in order to apply in the right way.
Thank you so much. Walid, I'll give you the final word on that.
1 minute or under, just to bridge the gap between the EdTech industry and the startup you mentioned. The future of the EdTech is in the hands of the startups. And therefore, I would like to use this platform to call on all startups in the world, okay, to bring their innovation into accelerators that are focused on in education, so that they can help them, okay, scale and move into companies who are becoming really heavy moving forward. And that's something that needs to be taken into account. So please do talk to Hamid.
And I will add to that, to Walid, that there are actually specific incubators
Absolutely.
and accelerators for EduTech.
Oh, absolutely.
So there are many of those, so you can actually look into those and see how can you collaborate with them.
There are in Jordan, in the region, in the world, and they are funded, well funded in terms, because this is something that is highly needed in the years to come.
Thank you. Walid, Anton, Rabih, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the audience. Please take the opportunity to speak to the panelists after this, and thank you for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.